Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Beyond World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandna.
And I'm Hemkaur Saroya, and on the show today, big development from India. The GST Council has approved a two-tier rate structure of 5 and 18% to be implemented from the 22nd of September. What does that mean for the people, and how is the money going to be routed into the economy? These are some of the things that we will be discussing on the show today.
Also on World DNA, in India, Punjab is facing its worst flooding in nearly 4 decades, the heaviest since 1988. The floods have claimed 37 lives and affected more than 3.5 lakh people. We'll bring you the latest on that. Let's start with the headlines.
India's GST restructuring brings relief to consumers with 175 broad items, including milk, paneer, snacks and bread to become cheaper. Goods such as hair oil, toilet soaps, shampoos, toothbrushes, tableware and kitchenware will now fall under the 5% bracket.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi hails the GST reform, says it would improve the lives of citizens and ensure ease of doing business for all, especially small traders and businesses. Chinese President Xi Jinping attends evening gala at Beijing's Great Hall of the People after hosting a major military parade to commemorate 80 years of China's victory over Japan in World War II. Russia says security guarantees sought by Ukraine were guarantees of danger to the European continent ahead of talks between Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders on such assurances.
Israeli military says its Air Force struck and killed 2 Hezbollah-linked operatives in southern Lebanon. Cites their activities, which it claimed constituted a violation of the understanding between Israel and Lebanon.
Lisbon's historical funicular derails, smashes into a building, killing at least 15, injuring 18 in one of the Portuguese capital's most popular tourist spots.
The full might of the United States to take on and eradicate these drug cartels, no matter where they're operating from and no matter how long they've been able to act with impunity. Those days are over.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio vows to keep up strikes targeting drug cartels after Washington says it destroyed a boat in the Caribbean allegedly belonging to a Venezuelan gang.
A federal jury has ordered Google to pay $425 million in a class action lawsuit, ruling it secretly tracked users after they disabled location history, impacting nearly 100 million users. Google denies wrongdoing but says that it's reviewing the verdict.
Amanda Anisimova finds redemption at the U.S. Open 53 days after suffering a humiliating defeat to Iga Swiatek in the women's
cars, air conditioners and televisions, your everyday use items, and the rate cuts will be implemented from the 22nd of September.
Common man items such as hair oil, toilet soap, soap bars, shampoos, toothbrushes, toothpaste, bicycles, tableware, kitchenware, and other household articles have all come to 5. फिर reduction from 28 to 18%. इसमें मिडिल क्लास के एस्पिरेशंस मीट करने वाले बहुत सारे चीज़ हैं. एयर कंडीशनिंग machines, TVs which are over 32 inches, all TVs now at 18%. I want to underline, all TVs are now at 18%. Dishwashing machines, small cars, motorcycles equal to or less than 350 cc are all now coming to 18.
The GST structure has also been rationalized from 4 slabs to just 2, 5 and 18% that is. This addressing long-standing criticism that India's indirect tax system was overly complex. Federal and state governments are estimated to lose around 48,000 crore rupees or $5.5 billion.
We would not call it as a revenue loss because that doesn't seem to be the correct terminology. But net revenue implication of this proposal is expected, we have estimated it to be around 48,000 crores.
Now, to balance the rate cut, super luxury and sin goods such as high-end cars above 1500 cc, diesel engines, cigarettes, carbonated drinks, pan masalas, they will now face 40% tax.
There is one special rate which is only for sin and super luxury goods. That special rate of 40% has also been proposed and it's cleared. That will apply only to pan masala, cigarettes, gutka, and other tobacco products such as chewing tobacco, products like zarda, unmanufactured tobacco, and BD.
Now, these cuts align with Prime Minister Modi's call for a self-reliant India. Prime Minister Modi said the reforms will improve citizens' lives and make doing business easier for traders and small firms. All right, to discuss this further, there's lots to unpack, of course. To discuss this further, we're now being joined by Jayan Krishna from New Delhi, Senior Fellow, Center for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA. Always a pleasure to have you.
A pleasure being here.
Now, let's just begin with understanding the very basic implications of this. What does this mean for the common man, and how is this money going to be routed into the economy?
See, fundamentally, if you look at, there were 4 slabs which have been rolled into 2 now. And, a lot of goods for the common man, daily essentials, healthcare, education, a lot of products which are used by farmers, those have been reduced. I mean, the slab has come down. And so is the case with a lot of automobile products, electronics, air conditioners, and so on and so forth. If you look at the common man, I mean, the products which are consumed almost on an everyday basis, like shampoos, soaps, and so on and so forth, a lot of what we often call as the FMCG goods, there the percentage has dropped from 18% to 5%. Now, this will benefit a large number of users, right? Other products like butter, ghee, cheese, salted snacks, and so on and so forth, utensils, they come down from 12% to 5%, A lot of baby-related products like diapers, nappies, milk bottles, and so on and so forth will also reduce from 12% to 5%. I think the biggest announcement to my mind, which will affect the economy positively more than the consumption going up by the common man, are the healthcare products. So especially the health and life insurance premium, which we used to attract 18% GST, will now not attract any GST. So this would what would it result into? That a lot of people who are not covered by individual healthcare or individual life insurance policies would now be tempted because those would become cheaper by about 18%. A lot of other healthcare products like thermometers, oxygen cylinders, diagnostic kits, spectacles for sight correction, and almost 33 life-saving drugs, some of the cancer treatment drugs. The life-saving drugs and cancer treatment drugs are, from 18% or 12%, they're becoming 0%. And, these oxygen and diagnostic kits, these have been reduced from 12% to 5%. So I think there's a lot of education, children, the kind of products they use, colors, maps, monitors, crayons, pens, pencils, the notebooks, exercise copies. Those would reduce from 12% to 5%. I think these are big announcements. And a lot of people think that farmers have not been benefited. They have been benefited. Tractors will come down from 12% to 5%. Biopesticides, drip irrigation systems, harvesting machines, and other machines used in farming come down from 12% to 5%. Cars would become cheaper. Both the petrol and diesel versions, up to 1200 cc for petrol and up to 1500 cc for diesel. Of course, there are some other limitations also in terms of length of car and so on and so forth. So these categories will come down from 28% to 18%. So straight away, people are anticipating to buy cars in Navratri and later, would get benefited. Three-wheelers, motorcycles, which are less than 350 cc, would also reduce from 28% to 18%. And the vehicles used for transportation of goods also reduce from 28% to 8%. And some of the other products.
Mr. Krishna, let me just come in there. Now, there are, the rates are out there. And of course, we've broken that down in the report as well. We'll be carrying that too. But there are concerns that have been raised. And this is what the finance minister also mentioned, that the center is losing more. There's that figure that the revenue secretary mentioned, estimated a 48,000 crore impact. If you can break that down further, what are those concerns and how does the center plan to eliminate?
So this figure, what Revenue Secretary shared and the Finance Minister shared, about 48,000 crore implication of that. So this is, let us understand where does it come from. It is not coming from anticipated demand surge which will happen. This is based on the actual consumption for these more than 100 categories of products which have been, where the GST has been slashed. It is based on the 2023-24 consumption of these things, assuming that the consumption remains at the same level. Then the government would lose 48,000 crores, But that is not likely to be the case, because world over it has been seen, the moment the tax structures go down, be it, indirect taxes like these, or be it income tax or whatever it is, the consumption goes up. More and more people fall under the GST net. More and more small enterprises, who used to fear GST, and they will feel that they only have to pay 5% GST. They will come under the GST net, and there'll be buoyancy in consumption. So all that, if you take into consideration, my opinion is there'll be no net revenue implication or loss for the government. What is currently being pegged at 23-24 level at 48,000 crores.
Mr. Krishna, thanks so much for joining us. Of course, we will keep breaking this down further and further through the course of the day. We'd love to discuss this further with you going forward. That was Jayant Krishna joining us from New Delhi. And there's big news coming in at this hour. Russia has said that the security guarantees sought by Kiev were guarantees of danger to the European continent.
In a statement, Russia's foreign ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said Ukraine hoped for guarantees. They were a springboard for terror, for provocations against our country.
She said that they are not guarantees of Ukraine's security, but guarantees of danger to the European continent as a whole. Her statement comes ahead of talks between Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders on these assurances. It's a big statement that has come in. Russia has said that the security guarantees that are being sought by Kiev, they were in fact guarantees of danger to the European continent. Quote unquote, that's the statement which has come out from the Kremlin.
Now, of course, exactly what this statement means and what it means by danger to the European continent, that is something that needs to be defined further and discussed further. But as of now, this is the latest that we have right now. Russia has said that the security guarantees sought by Kiev are guarantees of danger to the European Union. In a statement, Russia's foreign ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said Ukraine hoped for guarantees which were a springboard for terror, for provocations against our country. All right, in Lisbon's historical funicular has derailed and smashed into a building, killing at least 15 and injuring 18 in one of the Portuguese capital's most popular tourist spots.
And details of their identities were not immediately available. The accident happened at 6:15 p.m. That's local time. This happened on a steep stretch of tracks near Liberty Avenue. These visuals show the moments immediately following the tragedy, with the funicular appearing out of a cloud of smoke and debris, completely smashed against a wall. And another funicular was stopped a few meters away on the tracks as tourists and onlookers watched as they were stunned.
The Lisbon public transport operator said it had complied with all maintenance protocols. Lisbon said that general maintenance is carried out every 4 years and was last conducted in 2022, while intermediate maintenance takes place about every 2 years and was completed back in 2024. Lisbon prosecutors have opened an investigation into the circumstances of this accident as well.
A large number of firefighters, police and other emergency personnel, they remained at the scene into the night surrounding the badly damaged train that remained on its side. Lisbon mayor called it a tragedy, one that the city has never seen before. Authorities have declared Thursday a day of national mourning. It drew global reactions, with European Union chief Ursula von der Leyen extending her condolences to the families of the victims through a post on social media. The Houthis claimed to have launched a second attack on Israel in a single day.
This with the Israel Defense Forces confirming the interception of a ballistic missile fired from Yemen. According to Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Saree, they conducted a military operation targeting a sensitive Israeli facility west of Jerusalem with a Palestine II hypersonic ballistic missile. The Houthis also claim to have hit a critically important facility in Tel Aviv with a drone.
The missile force of the Yemeni Houthi armed forces carried out a significant and dual military operation using 2 ballistic missiles, one of them being the Palestine II cluster missile with multiple warheads used for the second time, and the other being the Dulfikar missile. They targeted sensitive enemy sites in the occupied area of Tel Aviv. The operation successfully achieved its objectives by the grace of God, causing millions of Zionists to rush to shelters and leading to the suspension of airport operations.
The Israeli military has confirmed intercepting a missile launched from Yemen which carried a cluster bomb warhead. This is the second time in 2 weeks that the Houthis have used such a warhead in their missile attacks. There were no reports of injuries or damage, and air raid sirens which were activated in several areas of Israel.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military confirmed that its air force struck and killed 2 Hezbollah-linked operatives in separate strikes in southern Lebanon. One of the men, identified as Al-Munim Musa Suedan, was targeted, while another operative from the Hezbollah-affiliated Lebanese Resistance Brigade was killed in a strike in the village of Sheba.
The Israeli military has released a video showing troops completing a targeted activity in Lebanon near the border with Israel. According to the Israeli army, soldiers dismantled several outposts previously used by Hezbollah in Sheba farms on the Mount Dov area of Lebanon. The video comes as the United Nations complained that grenades had been dropped close to their forces. The Israeli military said that it did not intentionally target the peacekeepers but dropped several sonic bombs near a suspect in a border area. The peacekeeping force known as UNIFIL condemned the attack on its personnel and its assets. France and Qatar have also condemned the attack, calling it grave violation of international humanitarian law.
And new satellite images have revealed intensified construction at Israel's closely guarded Negev Nuclear Research Center near the desert city of Dimona.
Now, this site is long suspected to be at the heart of Israel's undeclared nuclear weapons program. Experts analyzing producing plutonium for nuclear weapons or a facility to assemble nuclear warheads. Either possibility points to a significant development inside one of the world's most secretive nuclear programs.
Now, the Dimona nuclear facility has long been at the heart of international speculation. It's located about 13 kilometers southeast of the city and roughly 30 kilometers from the Dead Sea. For decades, this remote and heavily guarded site has fueled questions about Israel's undeclared nuclear arsenal.
Israel has never confirmed nor denied possessing nuclear weapons. They continue to maintain its policy of strategic ambiguity. But analysts say that the new construction is just meters from the existing reactor and is impossible to ignore. But what is making this timing more sensitive? This recent revelation comes just months after Israel and the U.S. launched coordinated strikes on Iranian nuclear sites and warned of the dangers of Tehran pursuing nuclear weapons.
Critics also argue that the world is facing a double standard, with one undeclared nuclear armed state modernizing its arsenal in silence, while another is bombed over its intentions.
A U.S. missile vaporizes a Venezuelan drug boat in a devastating strike, killing 11 suspected cartel members. President Trump calls it a clear warning to narco traffickers flooding the U.S. with deadly drugs.
With warships amassed and tension soaring, Washington signals a new aggressive front in the Caribbean drug war. Here's a report.
Flash of light, then a fireball on the horizon. A U.S. missile launched with lethal precision obliterated a Venezuelan vessel in a high-stakes narcotics interdiction. The boat, designated as a drug runner, was completely destroyed in the strike. U.S. President Donald Trump said that the U.S. military operation targeted members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Trump said the vessel was in international waters.
This is a counter-drug operation. We're going to take on drug cartels wherever they are and wherever they're operating against the interests of the United States. The president's top obligation is to secure the national interest and the national security of our people.
The decision to blow up a suspected drug vessel instead of seizing the vessel and apprehending its crew is highly unusual and evokes memories of the U.S. fight that's against terror groups like Al-Qaeda. Experts say the show of force is as much about politics as narcotics. Washington deployed warships in the southern Caribbean after Trump promised to crack down on drug cartels. 7 U.S. warships, along with 1 nuclear-powered fast attack submarine, are either in the region or expected to be there soon, carrying more than 4,500 sailors and marines. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro is condemning the massive U.S. naval presence as an aggressive provocation. He says 8 U.S. ships with 1,200 missiles are targeting Venezuela. His government is now on a high alert, accusing Washington of trying to destabilize the region. The stakes have never been higher. The Caribbean, now a theater of intense military posturing, holds its breath as the two nations clash in a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Bureau Report, WION The World.
And with that, it's time now for a short break on World DNA.
Don't go anywhere. On the other side, we'll bring you a lot of details which are coming in from Punjab, which is facing its worst flooding in nearly 4 decades, the heaviest since 1988. The floods have claimed 37 lives already and have affected more than 3.5 lakh people.
The UN's refugee chief has urged Pakistan to temporarily halt its large-scale expulsion of Afghan refugees following a powerful earthquake in eastern Afghanistan. We'll get you the latest on this on the other side as well. Stay tuned.
where darkness hides behind every corner, where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders, psychopaths who defy explanation, international war crimes, and millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness. To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Haim. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi hails GST reform, says it would improve the lives of citizens and ensure ease of doing business for all, especially small traders and businesses.
UN refugee chief calls on Pakistan to pause its mass expulsions of Afghan refugees days after an earthquake in eastern Afghanistan killed nearly 1,500 people.
Russia says its security guarantees sought by Ukraine were guarantees of danger to the European continent ahead of talks between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders on such assurances.
Israeli military says its air force struck and killed two Hezbollah-linked operatives in southern Lebanon, cites their activities which it claimed constituted a violation of the understanding between Israel and Lebanon.
I thought it was a beautiful ceremony. I thought it was very, very impressive. But I understood the reason they were doing it, and they were hoping I was watching, and I was watching.
U.S. President Donald Trump says China's beautiful ceremony marking the end of World War II should have highlighted the role that the U.S. played in Japan's defeat.
Lisbon's historical funicular derails, smashes into a building, killing at least 15 people, injuring 18 others in one of the Portuguese capital's most popular tourist spots.
A U.S. judge is questioning the Justice Department's deal, letting Boeing avoid prosecution over two deadly 737 MAX crashes. The judge criticized dropping an independent monitor as families of victims strongly object. A final decision still pending.
Amanda Anisimova finds redemption at the US Open 53 days after suffering a humiliating defeat to Iga Swiatek in the Wimbledon final. The American... In India, Punjab is facing its worst flooding in nearly 4 decades, the heaviest since 1988.
Now, the floods have claimed 37 lives, affected more than 3.5 lakh people. All 23 districts have been affected, with officials confirming that over 1,655 will...
Reported the loss of livestock. The damage isn't limited to fields. Hundreds of homes have either been severely damaged or have been completely washed away. In several areas, farmlands have turned into massive water bodies, in some places as deep as 8 to 10 feet, forcing residents to depend on boats to get around.
The worst affected districts include Gurdaspur, Pathankot, Amritsar, among others. While the administration has set up relief camps, many villagers continue to stay on rooftops or raised platforms near their homes to remain close to their livestock and their property. Punjab's Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann visited flood-hit areas in Firozpur and said the government has launched a special loss assessment survey and will compensate affected families.
Union Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan is set to visit the flood-hit areas and interact with the affected farmers. Today, Chauhan will also review the extent of crop damage with state officials and chalk out measures to extend assistance to farmers.
Rescue and relief work is being carried out by government agencies with support from numerous NGOs and Sikh organizations. All schools, colleges and universities have been closed till the 7th of September. All right, the UN's refugee chief has urged Pakistan to temporarily halt its large-scale expulsion of Afghan refugees.
This is following a powerful earthquake in eastern Afghanistan that has left nearly 1,500 people dead and more than 3,700 injured. Officials say thousands of registered Afghan refugees have crossed back over the border from Pakistan in recent days, with the pace of returns rising sharply despite the deadly earthquake that struck Afghanistan over the weekend.
UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi has appealed to Pakistan to pause the implementation of its illegal foreigners repatriation plan. He also noted that the recent earthquake has affected over 500,000 people, emphasizing that continued aid from donors, including Pakistan, remains vital.
Pakistan has hosted Afghan refugees for more than 4 decades, from the Soviet invasion to the Taliban's return in 2021. Over the years, many Afghans built lives there, with varying access to work and education. Some were even born and raised in Pakistan, while others passed through on the way to resettlement in the West. But in 2023, the Pakistan government launched a crackdown to expel Afghans living in Pakistan, citing rising militant attacks and branding sections of the refugee population as security threats.
According to the United Nations, more than 1.2 million Afghans have been forced back from Pakistan since the crackdown began, including over 443,000 this year alone. The latest phase is now targeting about 1.3 million refugees holding UNHCR issued proof of registration cards.
And the fate of the dazzling Darya-e-Noor diamond has remained sealed inside a bank vault for decades.
Not anymore, though. Bangladesh's interim government, led by Mohammad Yunus, has instructed the opening of the vault run by a state bank, which is believed to house the diamond. However, it remains unclear whether the gem is even there, as it has not been sighted for decades.
Darya-e-Noor is said to be a sister of the famous Kohinoor diamond, which remains in the United Kingdom even now. According to reports, the Kohinoor and its sister diamond in the past were worn by the Punjab ruler Ranjit Singh. The Sikh ruler died and the diamonds changed ownership, falling into hands of the British in the 19th century. And later, Khwaja Alimullah, the first Nawab of Dhaka, bought the diamond in an auction in 1852.
It was in Punjab originally. After the Punjab War, the British became the custodians of it. I don't know where it was before that. Then our predecessor Salimullah bought it from the British around 1850-60 in an auction in Kolkata.
Eventually, Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka faced financial trouble in 1908, which then forced him to borrow from British colonial powers, mortgaging his vast Dhaka estates along with Darya-e-Noor and his other treasures.
The diamond was rectangular in shape and surrounded by more than half a dozen smaller diamonds. The main diamond in the center, we believe, is about 20 to 30 carats. Around it are 7 or 8 other diamonds.
26 to 30 carat.
The diamond subsequently found its way to Bangladesh's state-run Sonali Bank. This was the last confirmed sighting of the Darya-e-Noor. Only mystery has surrounded it since then. And there's another diamond of the same name, the pink-coloured Darya-e-Noor, which is in Iran's capital, Tehran. And a video of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's aides scrubbing every surface that he touched after high-level talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Beijing has prompted global curiosity over these extreme precautions.
Of course, this is nothing new, though. Video shared by Russian journalist Alexander Yushinev shows Kim Jong-un's team meticulously cleaning backrest, armrest, upholstery of the chair that was used by the North Korean leader, removing his drinking glass on the tray. Journalist said Kim Jong-un's aides went to great lengths to erase any sign of his presence in the meeting room. In fact, the sanitation effort took place shortly after Kim and Putin's meeting on the sidelines of Beijing military parade hosted by Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Now, the rationale behind the North Korean team's strict sanitization protocol remains uncertain. Analysts believe the act goes beyond routine cleaning, suggesting that it could be a precaution against potential DNA collection by Russian or Chinese intelligence, while others interpret it as consistent with North Korea's enduring emphasis on leadership secrecy. These measures are not exclusive to North Korea. Reports suggest that Russian President Vladimir Putin also takes similar precautions, including having his bodily waste retrieved wherever he travels and flown back to Moscow during international visits.
Of course, this is a move aimed at preventing foreign agencies from gathering intelligence on his health. Now, at least that is the logic behind it. According to reports, Putin's bodyguards reportedly carried a suitcase to collect his fecal waste as well during the Alaska summit with US President Donald Trump.
Meanwhile, Putin and Kim Jong-un shared a limousine ride between events in Beijing, marking the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. The Kremlin posted a video on social media showing the two leaders leaving a formal reception and heading together to bilateral negotiations, where both Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin insisted the other take a seat first. Eventually, Kim entered the limousine from the left side, while Putin took the seat on the right.
Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping attended a gala with World War II themed performances following the country's massive military parade.
Singing, dancing and acrobatic performances along in the show. Take a look at these visuals. Google survives the biggest corporate breakup threat as a US federal judge spares Chrome and Android from the auction block.
Our next story explains how artificial intelligence is quietly dismantling the search giant's empire piece by piece. Take a look.
In a big ruling, a US judge ordered a major makeover of Google's search engine in a crackdown aimed at curbing the corrosive power of an illegal monopoly. This is a 5-year legal battle between one of the world's most profitable companies and its home country, the United States. The 226-page decision rebuffed the US government's request to break up the company. So now, if a user is searching for an air conditioner, for example, on the internet using Google Chrome, Google knows and floods him with ads of AC brands. Now Google will have to share this information of user search with its competitors like Firefox. But Google says it will undermine user privacy. But while Google's lawyers celebrate, the company faces a far bigger storm, one no courtroom can contain. Artificial intelligence is rewriting the internet, and the king of search suddenly looks less untouchable. For 2 decades, Google's search engine was the gateway to the web. Its dominance was unchallenged. But now, millions are asking AI chatbots for answers instead of typing. Queries into Google's box, every prompt to ChatGPT, every question to Claude or Perplexity, chips away at the search engine's foundation. Google has poured billions into its own AI arsenal. It has Gemini, AI-powered search, even embedding assistants across Android devices. Yet, critics say it's playing catch-up. The paradox, the company is spared by a judge, but its crown is slipping in the marketplace. Washington's trial aimed to tame monopoly power. Instead, the real breakup may come from innovation itself. If AI becomes the new search, Google's fortress could crumble, not by law, but by technology. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Now, Donald Trump has warned that the United States may have to unwind its trade deals with the European Union, Japan and South Korea if the Supreme Court rules against his tariffs.
Speaking at the White House, Trump said the agreements were worth almost $1 trillion to the US economy and claimed that losing the case would cause the country to suffer greatly.
We have a very, very big case in the Supreme Court. I can only say this. Our country has a chance to be unbelievably rich again, but it can also be unbelievably poor again. If we don't win that case, our country is going to suffer so greatly.
What's the backup plan, sir?
But I think we're going to have a big victory.
Now, the warning comes after a federal appeals court ruled 4-7 that most of Trump's tariffs are illegal. The tariffs imposed since 2018 under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act affected imports from major trading partners, including China, Canada, Mexico, India and Brazil.
American businesses have already paid more than $210 billion in duties, which could be refunded if the ruling stands. The court allowed the tariffs to remain in place until October 14th, while the administration appeals to the Supreme Court. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent argues that decades of trade imbalances and the deadly fentanyl crisis justify emergency action. He expressed confidence that the Supreme Court will uphold Trump's authority, but noted backup options under older tariff laws. All at stake are duties as high as 50% on Indian and Brazilian goods.
Economists caution that while the removal of tariffs could ease inflationary pressures, it may also trigger market uncertainty and force the U.S. Treasury to return billions in collected revenue.
Bouncing back from a humiliating loss in a Grand Slam final can never be easy, but just 53 days after failing to win a single game in the Wimbledon final, Amanda Anisimova has found redemption.
Now, the American defeated world number 2 Iga Swiatek in a rematch to reach her maiden U.S. Open semi-finals. Anisimova watched her Wimbledon final back for the first time. The night before her match with Swiatek, it was something she may not have done after tough losses in the past. But since taking a break from the sport to protect... An individual known as the ketamine queen has pleaded guilty to charges related to distributing the drug that led to the death of actor Matthew Perry.
Jasmine Singha, an American-British dual national, pleaded guilty to 5 charges in Los Angeles, including one for distributing ketamine that resulted in death or injury. Federal prosecutors described her home as a drug-selling emporium where dozens of ketamine vials were discovered during a police raid.
More than 80 vials of ketamine were found, along with thousands of pills of other drugs, including cocaine and methamphetamine as well.
And director Oliver Hermanus is hoping to shine a light on positive queer love with his new film, The History of Sound, starring Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor. The cast enjoyed a star-studded premiere in New York. Take a look.
Like The History of Sound for me is a film that intentionally doesn't problematize sexuality as its main politic. The nature of the relationship and the intimacy of that relationship happens without the fear of it evolving.
I feel like it's a story fundamentally about like love, not just necessarily love between Lionel and David, but just like love of music, companionship, love of art, figuring out how to love yourself. I think it's just really beautifully drawn.
And with that, we call a wrap on this edition of World DNA.
And before we slip into a short break, here are all the climate stories making headlines across the world. Take a look at those, take that short break, come right back.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency.